we define that the logical operators, they are a sort of binary comparison, or let's say value comparison, something like that. They are complementary operators with the comparison operators also. We had an example of defining or extracting a mark or a GPA of a student, a list of students that they actually have in marks or GPAs in between 80 and 100. So if they are the GPA or a student is having a GPA more than 80 and less than 100, so this is a logical operator, this and. We pass to the comparison operators, where we define that the comparison operators, we are going to have two values to compare. The same scenario as the logical operator application. Now, if we are going to compare the grades, we may have actually to either state that a score to be greater than 100, for example, or less than 100, or we can actually ask it differently. We can ask it differently. Newcomers, they are coming now. We can ask it differently by just stating that the score is between a range between 80 and 100. So we use the comparison operator, the between. Syntax is we just have to use the word clause. Expression number one, which is let's say the test score, the score, the GPA, or the mark, or things like that, is between, because we are going to use the keyword between or not between. We are going to use the keyword between or not between. Those are two keywords, like the and or in the logical operators. So we'll actually be able to use the word clause with the list of comparison operators, because we can compare the GPA and the exam marks, exam 1, exam 2, and so on. So we may have more than one comparison. List operators is another um, group of operators that we can refer to. Here we are going to, it's something like the comparison, but it's not in a range. We do not have a start and end of values. The example we took earlier is asking about the student GPA to be between 100 and 80, from 80 to 100, any value in between. So this is a range, but we can actually go for choosing one of the values, either 10 or 20 or 100 or 50, or group of values. We have a list. So we check if our grade or our mark or our test score is in a list or is not in a list. The same scenario, we use the word clause, and we check we have a list actually, which is it has to be actually a group of values, and the operator would be either in or not in. The operator would be either in or not in the list or not in the list. GPA or test score, whatever, it depends on the scenario. So the word clause to test whether the variable we are checking is in or not in a list. They are complementary actually, but even though, let's take an example. We are willing to check whether actually we are going to search for candidates that they actually passed an exam that were taken place in between 5th of March and 12th of March. Whomever passed the exam during this period, we are going to get their details. The format of the output needed is like so. We need the name, the last name, the score itself, and the date. Okay, so after the score, we need the syntax, the query, and after that we execute and we test, no more, no less. Just I can give the solution of this query just before I pass. before I give you the conclusion. As per a solution for this one, we may go actually by selecting everything from, let's say, candidates, where eight between 5, let's say March, something like that, and single quotation 12 March. What is the error I'm making here? What is the error I'm making here? See here, I'm just referring to a work clause to display a list of dates list of candidates that they are actually having their date from actually a value in the candidate's entity from the 5th till the March. Any value in between, the values or the details or the properties of this record would be actually extracted. What is the error I'm making here? Can you just refer to what's the difference from the request here and what I'm typing here? Are you with me? Are you here or not? أروى, what is the error? نجمة المستقبل. Who is نجمة المستقبل? Okay, very easy, without any, there is nothing actually hidden or secret here. We need this format. We need 4 fields. We do not need everything from the candidates. No successful candidates. We are going to export or to display their first name, their last name, their score, and the test date. We are not going to extract everything. So the syntax here, it's correct, but the outcome is not the same. The syntax is correct, but the outcome is not. Here I have to specify that I need the first, let's say, the first name, comma, the candidate last name also, and the test score, let's say, and so on. So actually we need, let's finish it. Test date. Okay, like this now it's perfect. Like this it's perfect. So we are just asking to display according to the format we need. According to the format we need. So now it fits exactly what we are willing to have an outcome. Okay, let me cancel everything. Great. Let's continue. Actually, as a summary to this section so far, what we saw so far, we are able to deal with the. I asked you at the beginning of the class. Actually, do we need to make a format whenever we are trying to insert data to an entity? The answer actually is not, because we are not making any output. The insert does not require a format, because it does not have an output. There is no output from the insert. There is a process to be done, which is to insert data, and that's it. It stops there. The answer to the insert, so no, there is no format to be set, and The reason is that it is a process to be done without any outcome, something to be happening inside the database, and that's it. There is nothing to be displayed to the end user. Uh, we introduced the technology we are going to deal with when we are creating a backend solution, which is the SQL Server. With this technological advancement, we define the T-SQL, which is uh, a sort of amelioration of the SQL. So we are dealing with the SQL only, yes, since we are going to interrogate a database. So the SQL is our key to interrogate that. We saw different cases when we need actually to display a result from to retrieve a data from the database from the backend solution, where actually the select query was the unique solution to do so. More than that, we have to recognize that the T-SQL is one enhancement to the SQL. How we write the SQL, how we pass queries in plural to the SQL. The T-SQL defines that. If we are willing to, for example, send more than one select query in just one bulk, in just one shot, so we can use the T-SQL to help us. We can use one of the technologies that the T-SQL the T-SQL, the transact SQL, it helps us to achieve scalable transactions with the backend database or backend data store, no more, no less. Yes, the select was the unique query for displaying, actually the unique solution to display and to retrieve data from the backend. This is we define that. Uh, we saw the operators. We saw the logical, the range, the list operators. All of them we saw actually, and we defined the cases when we need them. They are all to be adopted within the workflows. Uh, and whether we need them or not, it depends on the scenario. So we can use one, we can use a combination of two or three. Usually depends on the question. And yes, it's not only that the logical operators, when we use the and or, we applied the comparison, sort of the math, actually the sort of the math uh, operators, because the between and the not between, they are, yes, logical operators. They are the keywords to be utilized to compare. True, but also without the between and the not between, without those two keywords, we can use the greater than, the less than, the greater than equal, and so on. The not equal, the not less than, the not greater than, we can use them. Exclamation mark means not. Equal means equal. Not equal, it's not equal, means different. So all of those, they are comparison operators also we can utilize. Um let's pass to next section from this database, understanding the databases. We are going to deal with keywords that they facilitate the use of the queries. Actually, it's not simply asking for selection and that's it. We select whatever we need and that's it, finished. No, there are compound requests where we actually find that the select is enabled to display exactly the request required by the question or by the user. Given the example of, we need to display all the names that they have, the letter, for example, O at the beginning, Oman, Oracle, Olive, Orange, everything that starts with O, we need to display. Any name that starts with O, we need to display it. So how would you select what? The select itself does not go, it does not give us select star from. It displays everything. It does not have any option to help us understand and interrogate clearly and deeply the database. So we need to use a specific syntax to achieve. Answering the question actually of how to extract the words that they actually start with, the names that they start with O, we can use wildcards. So here we are going to use special characters to specify exactly what we need to extract. We are not going to extract everything. No, we are going to extract specific content, and thus we need to be more specific, no more, no less. Great. So whatever, actually, we are going to see them, all of them, one by one, but those are keywords and indicators to specify more specificities to our queries whenever we are sending them to our database engine, database management system, to retrieve more accurate data, more accurate results. Let's start. We need to display actually the list of the newspapers that they have actually in their names the word Texas Times. If they have in their title Texas Times, we display that. Whether they are actually having only Texas Times or Texas Times with other words. So we display that name. We need to display all the details. Yes, absolutely. But this all would happen only if the name holds those two words exactly. Texas Times. It might be at the beginning of the name. It might be at the end of the name. It might be in the middle of the name. And later on we'll display other details. Yeah, we'll display all the details we need. But only those details, they will not be extracted unless the Texas Times name is available in the name, or the Texas Times words, they are available in the name. Yes, as usual, we have to have a format. Then after we're going to create the syntax, execute it, and test if the received or the gotten result is exactly as the format we expected at the beginning. Yes or no? So let's do that. Our format here, we need the let's say the name, the person, and the phone here as per our request. The name, the person, the telephone, yes, and the name of the newspaper. So those are the three fields we need. Something like this. So we are going to give a header to the. We are going to give a header, a literal. We defined that earlier in this unit, to the newspaper name, and a header to the contact person, and a header to the contact phone. So the header for the newspaper name is C newspaper name. For the person, V contact. It's a suggested name, no more, no less. It's a suggested name, no more, no less. C phone. So we need the header for this column, and we need the header for this column, and we need the header for this column. So we are given headers, no more, no less. Good. Before we give the solution, just we have to explain that since we are asking for the Texas Times to be available inside the title, inside means it can be at the beginning, at the first two words of the title of the newspaper. It can be the last two words of the title of the newspaper. It can be in between, in the middle of the title, if the title is long. It can be only those two words. We have four cases, beginning and in between, or only those two words. Four cases, four. So we need to specify that the title is having those two words, so we display all the details. Otherwise, no. The keyword, we are going to use the wildcard operator, which is actually the percentage to represent that there is a text before and there is a text after, or maybe it's empty. the wildcard is percentage. But we have to make a match that the field name is having those things. It might be the same, it might be different. It's not exactly the same. So we need to use the word like, not equal. We are not going to compare here. Strict forward. A value is exactly equal to value. No, we're going to make a comparison with a slight modification. So that there may be actually a difference. So we make use of the word like. If the header, if the field name content is like Texas times, and before and after we use the wildcard percentage to indicate that it might be having a value at that position. Those are the fields we need. We are selecting them. From which entity? From the newspaper entity. And the work clause. The work clause, we are going to check whether the newspaper name is like, and between quotations, Texas times, but before and after Texas times, we are putting percentage. The computer will understand, the DBMS, the SQL Server will understand that here, if there is any text before Texas times, it will be read, it will be considered. And if there is nothing, also it will be considered. And also here there might be a text, or there might be no text. If there is any text, it would be considered. So if it comes, the appearance of this Texas Times and the title, which is the newspaper name, so those details will be extracted. Very easy. So we need those fields. So we listed them. Select newspaper name, person, and phone. From the entity. And we have actually a work clause here. The work clause is to test the content of this newspaper name is like. It's not exactly equal. No, there might be a difference. There might be exactly the same. It might be exactly Texas times only. Yes, is one of the 4 conditions. And since there might be a difference, so we use the word like, not equal. We don't use equal. We don't use equal here. We use like. Any questions, please, here? Any questions?
No, Master.
That's great. We continue. Okay. The analysis here to do is to test. So the analysis here to test whether it is matching exactly what we need or not. Okay, we may interrogate differently now. Actually, if I ask you to display the names of a list of recruiters in an entity where their name starts with J. Their names starts with J. Yes, let's try and let's see if we have actually any solution here. Yeah. Immediately, I'm going to type the solution for you and see if you have any comments. I'm going to say actually all the details. It's not specified, so I'm going to specify that I'm going to extract everything from, let's say, recruiters. Where what? The names. Actually, I'm going to say, let's say the field is our name, like, single quotations, percentage, Before of that, J, because it begins with J. It has to begin with J. So only this way. J, after that percentage. That's it. There is no percentage here. There is no percentage here. No, no, because the request said that the name has to start with J. So we need to have a J at the beginning, and all what it comes after is accepted. So if the name is starting with J, so accepted 100%. This is the name of the table, and this is the name of the field. If it is different, so we consider that. So we need actually to check the entity syntax, the entity values. Any questions here?
No.
Okay, great. So I return everything like it was. Okay, we need to display the interviews, which they are not actually yet scheduled. Means there is no schedule for them yet. Interviews that they do not have any schedule yet. When the interview would happen, it's not yet scheduled. So, so because of this, actually, we terminate with the use of the wildcards. Now we are going to use a new keyword, the like, and the percentage. Class finished. Now we pass to a next keyword, which is the null, or is null or not null. Candidates that they are having an interview, we are going to extract some of them, not all of them. Whom? Your candidates. If the interview date is not yet scheduled, so we display the data or the credentials of those candidates. Very easy. So the rule, the format, the query syntax, the execution, and we verify to the format, the outcome with the format. No more, no less. We're going to display some of the details from this syntax from this entity. So let's do that. Let's do that. We are going to check the list of the fields we need from the entity we require, where there is a clause, there is a work clause here, where in our case here, the scheduled date is not yet scheduled. The operator is null. The operator is null here. The operator is null. So we're going to use the is null. If it's nothing there yet in the field, let's say scheduled date, so we display all the details we need here from this entity. Great. First name, last name, interview date from external candidate, where the interview date here, the field, the interview date is null. So those fields here, they would be extracted only if the value here is null. Simple. Any questions, please, for the syntax for this query? For the syntax of this query?
No, Victor.
Okay. Okay. It's simply actually you have to understand that we need the value here to be null. So we use the keyword is null. Simple. There is no equal. There is no any other intermediary keyword here. Simply is null. Literally said. Okay, we're going to deal with the ascending descending context. We're going to use the order output of a query. In this example, we are required to list the vacancies in an entity. We are just receiving a list of vacancies, so job requests, and we are going to display those let's say availabilities in an ascending mode. In an ascending mode. So we are going to order the outcome in an ascending mode. Okay, ascending by what? Is alphabetically sorted, or let's say by date sorted, or we are going to have constraint based on what? So the same rules. This is the outcome, the position code, actually the position, whatever the position is, the vacancy position, and the description. So we have two fields. So we are going to order them either by position, name, alphabetically, or by description. And 100% we are going to use them, actually order them by position code. Since the output is holding only two fields. The syntax in general, not the answer to this question. We need to select whatever we need from an entity, and we use the order space by. What field we need? So here in this example, for example, we're going to order them by position, the code of the position. So order by position code. See position code here. And this order is going to be either ascending or descending. ASC means ascending, DSC means descending. From smaller to bigger, or from bigger to smaller. This is actually to consider whether the field to be ordered is alphanumerical, or to be numerical only, or to be alphabetical only, or things like that. Whatever the value inside, it would be ordered accordingly. So, solution. Field number 1, field number 2. Those are the ones we require here. See position code and you see description. From the position entity, order by. In this example, yes, he's ordering the solution is ordered by description. So yes, it would be in an ascending mode. So we are sorting the output according to the description in an ascending mode from A to Z. From A to Z. Why I'm saying A to Z, not from 0 to 1 to 9 and so on? Because it's a description, so it is a textual content. It is a textual content. So the order would be alphabetically done.
It use alphabetical.
Yeah, exactly. So the test and the match. Yeah. Okay, we need to now we move to another keyword that facilitates the interrogation of the database. In this example, we are willing to display only the last, or let's say the last or the first external candidates in an entity. In this example, he's saying top three external candidates. Okay, the best 3 candidates that have been actually shortlisted in an interview or in a job, let's say preposition or something like that. So we need only the best 3, for example. We can represent this best and this top by the first 3 candidates in the entity. The first 3 candidates. Let's do that. So we need only the first 3. How to extract only the first 3? How many students we have here, for example, in our class? 23 students. We need only 3, the top 3 students only to be shortlisted. How to create the query? Select star from the class. No, we don't want everything from the class. No, we need only the 3 candidates. All the details of the 3 candidates. The first 3 candidates. how to do that. So the syntax usually refer to that. We are going to use the keyword top 3. We are going to use the keyword top 3. Syntax: select usually top keyword. Here in our example we need 3, but usually any number. Top 1, top 2, top 3, top n. It depends. What we need actually the fields, either star top 3 star, or you need the fields lambda, what fields you need to output from the table, from the entity. And if we have actually any clause here, if we have any clause here, if we have it's not mandatory. So in our example, since we are actually if you remember the example at the beginning of the class today, we wanted to shortlist or to display the candidates that they actually passed an exam from 1st March to 3rd March or something, or 12th March. So something like that. So we need to display the candidates that I haven't the test passed in between 1st of March and 31st of March. Let's do that. Top 3 candidates. So select top 3, all the details, star, all the details of those top 3 candidates. From which entity? From the external candidate entity. From the external candidate entity. Clearly said. Good. This has to be a table in your database. Where actually in our example here we actually we test, the test date is greater than March 1st and less than March 31st. Here greater than or equal, and here less than or equal. So inclusive. Even the first is included and the 31st is also included. Score descendant mode. It will display only 3 records. It will display only 3 records. Top 3. We test. Okay. We need actually, we pass to our next keyword, which is here in the example before we displayed the top 3 candidates only, the first 3 candidates only. Okay, we need to display all the candidates but without repetition. For example, somebody had passed 2 exams at that period. It is a full month from 1st to 31st. There are candidates who passed 2 exams, for example. No, we need to display no repetition. We display everything, but with no repetition. We display everything, not top 3, all, but without repetition. We should use a different word. In our example here, we are going to use a distinct word. We are going to use the distinct word. So if we want to use the distinct, is to display a list of values without repetition. Distinct what? You specify the field name. Distinct name, distinct score, distinct GPA, distinct country, distinct city, the field name. Okay, the list of cities from which the candidates has been received. Okay, the number now we need to check the number of how many actually the published let's say event has been happening. How many actually news has been actually how many places to which the news has been spread. How many places the news to which has been spread. The number of the occurrences. The number of the occurrences. Clearly he is saying the advertisement for recruitments are published is required. So we count. We are going to count how many. We understand that we are going to count. So here there is a keyword. There is a keyword in the um, in the SQL that we can refer to, which is the count. The count. So we are going to count how many appearances are available, how many records are there, how many values are there. We count just one, two, three, four, and so on. The outcome, we need only one field. It is suggested to use header. We are going to use a header, and it is said no number of newspapers, number of newspapers. Okay, simply select here the count of how many newspapers, but we give it a header. This is written here, literally said. Regardless. So a literal, this would take the header place here and equals to what? To the field we need, but we are not going to display the field value. No, we are going to count how many are there inside this field, how many values are there in this field. No more or less. So count the field in between parentheses. From which entity, from which table? It will display us a number, the count. How many? Number 1, 2, 3, 10, 100, 1,000, a number only. If you hear your name, please say yes. If you hear your name, please say yes.